Hello, good evening, and welcome to Hot Edition on Shui FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. We're also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on Shui FM 927. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on Hot Edition. Coming up in the next 1 hour, President John Mahama's decision to admit 14 U.S. deportees into Ghana generates controversies tonight. We'll look at what may have gone into the agreement with the United States of America.
And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country.
Also coming up on the program, opposition NPP stalwarts failed to secure bail for Bono Regional Chair Abronya DC as an Accra High Court remands him again for 1 week. We'll tell you shortly what the judge said to him in court today.
Office rights. You saw almost about 100 policemen fully armed to the teeth. Is he a terrorist? Has he committed treason? Is he a treasonable offense?
We'll bring you details of that, and later Samuel Atachia, counsel for embattled Signal Bureau boss Duboahin, criticizes the government and Attorney General for denying him the opportunity to a fair trial.
But when you say somebody, you have condemnable evidence against another person, and in fact it will be in his best interest to come and plead bargain. What are you saying? You are guilty by my standards, not by the standards of the court of competent jurisdiction.
We'll bring you details of an exclusive interview. And much later, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister in Ivory Coast, where thousands of Ghanaians fleeing the Solatuna conflict are camped. We'll bring you details of these stories plus analysis in the next few minutes. But for now, though, Enyonam Haliga is here with a summary of the news. Enyonam, what do you have?
Yes, hi, Beatrice. In today's summaries, the Bono Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronya DC, is on a hunger strike in police custody. That's according to his lawyer, Enoch Afuakwa, who says the protest is in response to what his client views as political perception. Speaking after his client was remanded into custody for 2 weeks, Afuakwa said Abronya is taking the action to draw attention to what he believes is unjust and politically motivated arrest. Now, still in politics, the New Patriotic Party has announced plans to stage a demonstration on Tuesday, September 23, 2025, to protest what it describes as state-sponsored harassment by the Ghana Police Service against some of its members. The announcement was made by the party's national youth organizer, Salam Mustafa, in a Facebook post on Friday, September 12. The decision follows the remand of the Bono Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, popularly known as Abronya DC, by the Accra Circuit Court. He was ordered to remain in police custody for 2 weeks to allow prosecutors more time to conduct investigations. Now, before we go, 4 individuals have been arrested in Tema for possession of 315 compressed parcels of suspected Indian hemp, which has been concealed in vehicle tires. The suspect, identified as Nura Sali, 44, Pius Chuwama, 49, Mustafa Umar, 18, and Abdullah Amayau, 23, were apprehended by the Tema Industrial Area by the Tema Community 1 District Police. The police in a statement said the suspects were arraigned before the Ashama Circuit Court on Thursday, September 11, 2025, and remanded into police custody. That's all for the summaries this evening.
Thank you so much, Enyonam Haliga, for bringing us the summary of the news. Let's get into the details of our stories for you tonight. And the presiding judge hearing the case of NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, aka Abronya DC, has decried what he describes as pollution with politics of insults in the country, adding that if citizens fail to set standard for freedom of speech, the court will do so. Earlier, the Circuit Court remanded the outspoken NPP Bono Regional Chair into police custody again after refusing him bail. Lord Edward Sare is our court affairs correspondent. He was in court today and put together this report for us.
A large entourage of New Patriotic Party stalwarts, led by former National Chairman Freddie Blay, thronged the Accra Circuit Court in support of the Bono Regional Chair, Kwame Bafo, who had reportedly been detained at the National Investigation Bureau. Kwame Bafo has been charged with publication of false news and offensive conduct to the breach of peace per the prosecution's case. In court on Friday, September 12, lawyers of Abronye, led by former NPP National Chair Freddie Blay, prayed for a self-recognizance bill for him, arguing that he's a well-known person with social, economic and political ties in the country. The lawyers added that he was not a flight risk since he had a fixed place of abode. But prosecution vehemently opposed the bill application, highlighting that strong intelligence had been gathered, which included videos of the accused, which could derail the security of the country. They prayed for a 2-week remand for Abronye to enable them to continue with investigations. In his ruling, Samuel Bright Aqua, presiding over the case, lamented what he described as irresponsible exercise of freedom of speech. He further called on Ghanaians to come together to fight politics of insult. The judge then remanded the MPP Bono Regional Chair to police custody for a week and adjourned the hearing to September 19. Reacting to the development, NPP National Organizer Henry Nana Boakye condemned what he described as high-handedness of the incumbent government.
It's just abuse of his rights. You saw almost about 100 policemen fully armed to the teeth. Is he a terrorist? Has he committed treason? Is he a treasonable offense? Bias is becoming too much. We are going to rise up against this unfortunate treatment. It looks like state institutions being weaponized.
Reinforced police were deployed to help prevent agitations by angry MPP supporters who had massed up at the court premises. Sorry.
Now let's still stay at the court because lawyer and politician Samuel Atachia has criticized the government and the Attorney General for prosecuting his client, former Director General of the Signals Bureau, Kwabena Etubuahin, and denying him the opportunity to a fair trial. Mr. Atachia spoke to me in a yet-to-be-aired exclusive interview.
Immediately you use the press, they want to taint the person before you start the prosecution. So the question is, if you destroy a family in the press, that they are thieves, they've stolen so much money, they should come for plea bargaining, only to be acquitted and discharged by a court of competent jurisdiction. How do you repair the damage? So this reset way of NDC is not consistent with the Constitution.
The Attorney General didn't think that he was painting the accused black. He thought that he was informing Ghanaians because of the amount involved.
Maybe if not paying attention to that press conference. It was a horrible spectacle of our criminal jurisprudence. He said they are people who are going to go to jail and they better come for plea bargaining. I wish you pay attention to all that he said.
He said all of that?
Yeah, he said all that because then at that point in time it was the court and the prosecutor in a public space where they've packed their own people to deal with the matter. Because I didn't hear one journalist being bold enough. Attorney General, you are wayward. This is the first time we are seeing you, an Attorney General doing this. What is the presumption of innocence as enshrined in the Constitution? Every man, for that matter, woman, is presumed innocent until proven otherwise by a court of competent jurisdiction, not in the media space.
We've had a journalist asking that question in one of his press conferences, and he answering that, like I just told you, that it wasn't to prosecute the person in the public.
But when you say somebody, you have condemnable evidence against another person, and in fact, it will be in his best interest to come and plead bargain. What are you saying? You are guilty by my standards, not by the standards of the court of competent jurisdiction. And do you know who is speaking? The Attorney General, the Article 88 creature in the Constitution, the one supposed to administer justice and fair play. So that was very distasteful. And now we are in the court. But let me tell you one of the things which happened also. The theatrics did not start with the Attorney General. Can you imagine that a security couple of the realm called Ghana comes to Ghana through Kotoka International Airport, not through the bush, and he's supposed to be prosecuted or investigated? And then when he's in the airport, they put a handcuff on his hand like a common criminal. All that I've come to know is that when you say you are investigating somebody, a phone call, oh yes, Kwabena Dubuain, Yoko would want you to come over tomorrow for us to start an investigation. You may come with your lawyer, and the time scheduled you for the interrogation is 1 p.m.
We'll go into that as regards why the Attorney General, based on the Attorney General's own words, why he chose to use that avenue. Well, he was arrested by Yoko at the Kotoka International Airport. But back to my question about whether or not the revelation from the Attorney General shocked you as a person that an individual would have as much as that amount of money transferred into his private account.
But it's all bogus.
Your client is being tried,
yes,
for his operations within a particular period of time.
Yes.
Why did you find it necessary to ask the court to compel whichever institution, i.e. the national security, to reveal its transactional details from 1992 to date?
To expose the bankruptcy of understanding of those who are prosecuting him, because there's a pattern of national security, so that people will see that, oh, this is what they do. And you go back and find out that the national security has been using all manner of means in the operation, so that this is not new. That's what we were trying to do, and unfortunately the judge blocked it.
And you had a portion of that exclusive yet to be aired interview with Atachia, and you want to look out on TV3 and on our social media platforms as well for the full interview and snippet of it. Now, Ghana has become the latest country to accept people deported from the U.S. as part of President Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. President John Mahama said nationals from various West African countries would now be taken in following a bilateral agreement with the U.S. He said 14 had already arrived. He cited the regional bloc ECOWAS's free movement protocol that allows citizens of member states to enter and reside in other West African countries without a visa for up to 90 days. Last month, the U.S. deported 7 migrants to Rwanda, while in July, 5 were sent to Eswatini and 8 others to South Sudan. The 14 people already deported to Ghana include several Nigerians and a Gambian. The president said he did not specify the total number of deportees the country would take. Now, let me bring you exactly what President John Mahama said during that interaction with the media just a couple of days ago.
And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable, because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who it's not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement. And so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days. And so if they decide to bring them, we don't have a problem.
And you had that President John Mahama at that interaction with the press just a few days ago. I'm joined on the line now by he's actually a research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD, at the University of Ghana, Professor Daniel Dramani Kipu-Sunyezi. I'm also joined by security consultant Richard Kumado. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Let me start with you, Prof. Can you help us really understand what the general legal framework is when it comes to bilateral agreements of this nature? Is parliamentary approval required before Ghana can commit to such an arrangement, for instance? Hello, Prof.
Hello.
I hope you heard my question.
Yes, I heard you.
Please go ahead.
Yes. I believe because this is more or less like a contingency plan, government to be able to go through the legal processes of going through parliamentary approval could be a challenge. I'm sure that is why the president decided that there's a need for Ghana to open its space, allow these West African deportees to come, because that makes it a bit easier for them to be able to get to their final destination. After Ghana, as a member of ECOWAS, we have free movement. At least they can stay in Ghana for 90 days before we'll be able to get to their West African state. So I see that it's an emergency stage kind of thing, even the way they have been deported. And so if we want to go through these processes to rectify or to create room to give approval, it may delay. I'm sure that is why government decided, the president in his wise wisdom decided to say that let's allow these West African citizens to come, their brothers, their sisters, so that we will let them come in, so that facilitate their final movement to their respective countries.
Prof, why is this an emergency or a contingency plan? Because Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has been hammering this for a very long time. And the other question is, why do you send them to another country? Send them directly to their country.
Yes. So this is a situation. Ghana being a third world country or a developed middle income country, we have our own restraints, we have our own weaknesses. I'm sure that most of the developed countries possibly may not allow this kind of arrangement. But, Ghana might have to come in. Maybe we are also transactional. We are also looking at our interests. When they bring them, we facilitate maybe some economic gain we might also get. And as long as it doesn't have any serious security implications, I'm sure these are the reasons why Ghana possibly accepted this. But the good news that these are West African citizens and we should allow them to come in so that we move them. Ideally, we should not have done it, but as I said there could be other terms of agreement that serve the interest of Ghana. And foreign policy is all about the interest of the state. Once you serve the interest of the state, why not? Will do that.
I want you to hold on. I'm bringing in Mr. Richard Kumado there. Mr. Kumado, I don't know whether you heard the last bit of what Prof said, that he perhaps doesn't really, or there's a possibility that there are no security implications. You're a security consultant. What implications do you see from where you sit?
No, government hasn't disclosed the nature of the agreement and the terms of the agreement. So we don't know what has been agreed and what went into the decision leading to those agreements. What we can say is that to the extent that the first batch has come, they were not sending them to us for we to transport them. That is our decision to send them back to where they are coming from. What American policy is to deport them to available countries that is ready to host them. So it's our decision to send them to various countries because we belong to the same ECOWAS. But then, because it's an agreement, then you are talking about the involvement of the Foreign Ministry, you are talking about the Attorney General, you are talking about the Speaker of Parliament, you are talking about the Majority Leader, you are talking about the Minister of Interior, and you are talking about the security agencies predominantly. The risk levels could be weighed based on the reasons why they are being deported. Others could be because they have overstayed their visa. Others may be because they have committed some level of crime. Or others may be because they violated the visa procedure in the U.S. So until we see the agreement, presumptuously, it will be that this one, the protocols has been lowered because we belong to the same ECOWAS regime, and the president has taken the decision together with all those who matter within this particular arena.
But having made that point, do you agree with Professor Daniel that indeed this is a contingency plan? Because, like I said, U.S. has been hammering this since Donald Trump took office.
No, I wouldn't use a contingency plan. I would use we have a relationship with them. So it's one of the things we decide to do for them. You remember how they threw the Gate Motu onto us? Early in the morning, they were here. America has the ability of doing such things. Once you have a relationship with them, what is important is that you have to position yourself properly, that whatever you are doing, it has to be in the interest of the state, that your national sovereignty is preserved at all times, and your national security priorities are achieved at all times, and public safety and security assurances objectives are also achieved at all times. If you can achieve all these three concurrently or simultaneously, then you can say that you acted in the interest of the state. But then, of course, because there are governance issues involved and because there are geopolitical issues involved, whatever decisions you are taking must be in conformity that you are not breaching the very standards you set for yourself. In this particular case, we haven't seen the agreement and we don't know what went into it. But I can presume that Attorney General who advised government on many of these legal regimes, and the foreign minister in particular, together with the Minister of Interior and the Speaker of Parliament and Majority Leader, would have been involved in this particular decision. And that is why the President said, we agreed. So we, that means that this is not a decision he took unilaterally, but goes way beyond him, all in the interest of the state. You presume that the relevant stakeholders might have been consulted, but I just want you to hold on again as I get to the thoughts of Professor Daniel. Prof, when the President was talking, we didn't seem to get the understanding that Parliament had been consulted. If Parliament wasn't, what implications do you foresee? And if you could move a bit from the noise for us, we're not able to hear you clearly.
Yeah. Hello?
Please go ahead.
Okay. I think we're talking about Parliament approval, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. As I said it, or even as my colleague put it, we haven't seen the agreement, but I believe that the President, in exercising the executive powers, will always consider the interests of Ghana as paramount. And for agreeing to this particular thing, even without seeking the approval of Parliament, is something that I believe that Ghana might not be on the losing side. He was very clear that these are West African citizens that have found themselves in this quite discomfort position. So it is quite right and it's quite a wise decision for Ghana to open up, receive this group of people, while the government of Ghana strike out some bilateral relations with other countries and use some diplomatic processes and consular services to facilitate these West African citizens to their respective countries. And I think that that decision is not a bad one, unless there's a dire security situation which we are still not aware of. So I think that we may not necessarily have a parliamentary approval, but President can exercise this to do it. So, and as long as it does not cause us any the financial aspect, we haven't heard it. I believe that executive power can be exercised in the absence of the legislative approval.
Let me ask you my last question and I'll let you go, Prof. International relations really tell us that powerful nations dominate in negotiations and a lot of things. Really, realistically, how much leverage does Ghana have in negotiating the terms of such agreements?
If you go into the small state and big state affairs, usually the big states have much leverage, as you put it. Ghana is a small state that is to enter agreement with a big state like a superpower, the United States of America. So obviously Ghana is not having that power to do. But at the same time, Ghana also agreeing to it will also consider it a national interest. And I believe that it might not have any economic burden on us. And once receiving them does not bring economic burden, and Ghana may, in a way, get some economic gains. Why not? I think it will be prudent. Our government is pursuing strict economic diplomacy, and it makes economic sense of government to allow this quotation to come in. Ghana will help them Ghana may also benefit economically from that agreement.
Ghana will help them, and Ghana may also economically benefit. Thank you very much, Professor Daniel Dramani Kipo Asujani. He is a research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs. Let me get your final word, Mr. Kumadu. You earlier you referred to that Guantanamo Bay deportees that the country received in 2016. Do you see similarities with what is just happening?
The only similarity is that America deported people into our country, but their profiles are different, their reasons are different, their circumstances are different, and the individuals are different. The particular situation why they are here is also different. So we want to wait and see. If people feel strongly about it, they can speak to the speaker, they can speak to the majority leader, and they can speak and seek questions and ask questions, and answers will be provided. But I think the circumstances are different. And in as much as we want to grant leverage to a superpower like America, we must also be acting in the preservation of our democracy.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumadu, for speaking to us. And you had Richard Kumadu. He's a security consultant. Now, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has touched down in Ivory Coast ahead of his visit to displaced victims in the Gbenyiri conflict, where we understand thousands have fled to safety. And now an estimated 13,000 residents were forced to flee into Ivory Coast and Burkina Faso after communal clashes in the Solatuna, Kalba and Bole districts of the Savannah region. The clashes have left dozens dead, destroyed properties, and displaced more than 50,000 people. The government has subsequently taken steps to end the violent land clashes in the area, with the inauguration of a 7-member mediation committee tasked to deliver a roadmap for peace in the next 1 month. And shortly, we should be getting to our correspondent who has the latest on this for us. But we still stay on chieftaincy issues because the paramount chief of Tingawura, Alhaji Abdu Saidu, who doubles as the Council of State representative for the Savannah region, has commended the IGP Special Operations Team for their timely intervention in stabilizing the security situation in Bole and surrounding communities. He says the arrival of the team played a crucial role in calming tensions, restoring peace, and reassuring residents who can now go about their daily activities without fear. Stanley Nibleo has more in the following report.
As part of efforts to promote lasting peace and community cohesion, the IGP Special Operations Team held a strategic engagement with the Paramount Chief of Tinga. The meeting formed part of the team's broader community engagement strategy aimed at building trust, strengthening collaboration with traditional leaders, and fostering peaceful coexistence between the Brefos and the Gonja ethnic groups. The Tingawura emphasized that the presence of the team had brought renewed hope and confidence to the people of Bole, commending the team's professionalism, discipline, and neutrality.
Indeed, your coming around has been very timely. Officers and men like you have left your various stations, your wives and children, and you are here in Bole just trying to ensure that peace will be. I'm highly honored.
The leadership of the team expressed appreciation to the Paramount Chief and renewed their commitment to safeguard lives and property within the Bole and Sola jurisdictions. The Special Operations Team has meanwhile instituted several measures, including conflict resolution support, community sensitization, and curfew enforcement aimed at consolidating the peace achieved in the area. Later in the evening, the Special Operations Team embarked on a routine night patrol to ensure strict compliance with the government-imposed curfew. The operation focused on monitoring identified flashpoints and securing newly emerging areas of concern. Highway and community patrols revealed a remarkable level of public compliance. 2 individuals, identified as Stephen Yusuf and Abu Awudu, were however arrested for violating curfew rules.
Get up for the motor! Hey, listen. Are you not aware it's curfew hours? No, why are you riding at this time?
They were detained at the Bole District Police Station along with their unregistered motorbikes.
If Council of State member can obey the curfew and you misbehave and they slap you, I would say they should add 2 more.
Stanley Niblo filed that report, and when we come back, we'll go to the Savannah region and bring you the latest from our correspondent, as well as some analysis with Emmanuel Coutinho. Don't go away.
Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
And you're still here on Hot Edition on Sri FM 92.7. Let's go to the Savannah region now, where my colleague Christopher Mwako is on standby to bring us updates on the 13,000 residents in the conflict-struck areas who have had to flee the place to Ivory Coast. Chris, what can you report after weeks of disturbances in the Solatuna, Kaba and the Bole district? What's the situation?
Yes, so the situation now in the communities appears to be calm. People are, even though not back in their communities fully, but most of them leave the camp to undertake their farming activities. But the situation has to do with the education of the displaced victims, especially the children. So these children have not had to go to school because of the situation. They are unable to go. They don't feel safe going back to their schools. Their teachers have also fled the communities where the conflict has been impacted, and so it's very difficult for even if the children go to school, their teachers are nowhere to be found. Even though the Savannah Regional Director of Education has given indication that with the support of UNICEF, they are going to start education in emergency program, but that is yet to also begin because those in the Solar area, even though the land has been cleared, but it is yet to start. Those in the Vonkoro area in the Ivory Coast, that is also yet to start there.
Chris, what can you tell us about the security situation aside from the people fearing and, trying to reason out what to do exactly?
Yes, police visibility has been intensified in the communities, the patrols, but the issue is that the people still have the fear that their lives are so at stake. Some of the people over the week who tried returning to their communities, 38 of them have come back to the camp in Solar. And so there is still that fear amongst them that if they go, something will happen to them. But the security operatives are also giving the assurance that when they go, they will protect them. The Interior Minister, as we speak, is considering moving them to their communities latest by Monday. And so that is what we're following. We're hearing that exercise will be taking place before Monday. They want to reintegrate them into their communities because the security report is that the areas are safe.
Thank you very much, Christopher Mwako. He's our Savannah regional correspondent. Like I did tell you, the Foreign Affairs Minister has arrived in Ivory Coast to have first-hand information and to see the situation for himself. My colleague Mawe Negbeta is with him. Listen to this.
And so we're currently at Abidjan, where the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, touched down some hours ago, meeting his counterpart here in Ivory Coast. And the mission is quite simple. That being Gwinyuri conflict, which has led to over 40,000 persons displaced and over 30 individuals killed, we know that some 13,000 plus Ghanaians have been escaping that conflict, and they've crossed the border in Savannah region into Ivory Coast, where they're living in camps, amongst many other things. There have been concerns about availability of food, shelter, potable water as well. That's the mission of the foreign minister, who's currently at Abidjan in a meeting, we understand, with the chief of missions here at Ivory Coast, who have been on the ground assessing what the situation has been with the over 13,000 Ghanaians who've been camping in the border towns close to the Savannah region, where we understand that now enough provision is being made because there's been donations coming through, not just from the Ghanaian government as well, but as well from the Ivorian authorities who've been seeking to intervene. But there's a process that must see through for these Ghanaians to return into the country. That requires a lot of diplomatic talks, and so Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is here, and that conversation kick-started at the airport, where we saw Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa and his counterpart engaged in a brief conversation. Some 10 plus minutes missions here is currently underway. The expectation is that upon the briefing which he is receiving from the Ghanaian mission, who have been in touch with these individuals, the 13,000 plus, he will be visiting the camp tomorrow, where processes will begin. We know that the president on Wednesday night, in that address with the media, amongst many other things, spoke of what processes are expected to begin to see them come through. That is one of the many things we're seeing the foreign minister begin today, and he will touch base with the 13,000 plus individuals tomorrow. And the expectation is that diplomatic ties will be smoothened, and for the subsequent return of these Ghanaians, even as mediation talks continue.
All right, so Mawena also told us about the security and the living conditions of these individuals there. Mr. Kutin, I know you're on and you're listening to that, because I'll come to you very shortly for a conversation just right after this.
Rightly so. I mean, the concern has been the living conditions of these 13,000 plus individuals. There were questions about whether or not enough food was being given to them, questions about whether or not they were living well, and even in the camps, some of which we've known to be in Ghana, fears of disease outbreak amongst many other things. That's the update that the foreign minister is seeking to receive at this particular point in time. What we've been able to glean from the foreign affairs staff and then the mission team here in Ghana is that, one, there's been donations that's been coming through from Ghana and then Ivory Coast. The assurance they've been given is that there's been intervention since the details came to the fore that a number of Ghanaians had crossed the border, and so conversations have been ongoing between Ghanaian counterparts and Ivorian counterparts as well, seeking to smoothen the process for them and to the best of their ability provide a conducive atmosphere for them. We know that nothing beats home, and living in tents cannot compare to being in your home, where these 13,000 plus individuals were living up until the conflict erupted and they had to flee. But they say that they've been working steadfastly to provide, to the best of their ability, as much comfort as they can, and to ensure that food is available, water is available, and a place of convenience as well is available for them to be able to see through up until when they can return. What we also do not know, which we'll be seeking to get details of from the foreign minister after this briefing, which is still ongoing even as we speak, is what the timelines can reopen for education to begin for the young ones. These and more other questions we'll be seeking to get answers from the foreign minister when we lay our hands on him.
Indeed, Mawena Egbeta reporting live from Ivory Coast, where the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa has landed just to find out the situation of some 13,000 Ghanaians who have fled communities up north due to conflict. Mr. Emmanuel Koting, I know you're still on the line with us. You listen through the report. Let me first get your reaction to the information brought to us by Mawena Egbeta.
Well, thank you for having me, and very good evening to your cherished listeners, Beatrice. In fact, I think Ivory Coast is having elections next month. And given the contentious nature of elections in Ivory Coast, even citizens in Ivory Coast are running into Ghana. So it will be very unconscionable for our citizens who have crossed through the Benin border to Ivory Coast to remain there. So it is in the right direction the Foreign Affairs Minister have taken. And from the reports from my good brother Marina, it is to be expected, because when conflicts of this nature happens and refugees are fleeing, it takes time to get the logistics right. And don't forget, we have international protocols surrounding refugees. And Ghana will have to work through these international protocols because we are signatories to same. We have the UNHCR. So definitely, I think visiting the camp tomorrow, you will get to know firsthand the challenges our citizens are going. But I think that it should encourage them to come home, because the president have taken the step to meet the young Bora, the overlord of the Gonja traditional area. He has equally shown leadership by extending the olive branch to the clan heads or the Brefos. And that is why some of them have started returning. My information is that some have returned and they've realized that their homes have been burned down, they have nowhere to stay, and they are going back to get the support government promised them. So the resettlement, the government did mention, need to be expedited, so that they can get this assistance directly to the affected persons. Then they can reorganize their lives. Don't forget, we are in the middle of the farming season, and the main sustenance economic activity for we who come from those areas is farming. So if you allow our farm produce or our farms to spoil, it means that there will be consequences in the future. They may suffer famine and other things. So I think the step the Foreign Affairs Minister took is good, except for us to say, you remember we released a press statement vindicating our point that solutions must come from within and not internally imposed.
Indeed.
Because even before the committee members could set out to work, you see that the Yegbora intervention is bearing fruits. And we must understand that the Brefos, after they migrated from Côte d'Ivoire to Sola in 1925, they have always cohabited with the Gonjas. And at times they do have some of these skirmishes, and they have their traditional forms of resolving them, not the stage that this one are taken. So government should pay heed to the traditional structures, even though the external committee has been formed. They can run in parallel terms and complement each other. We don't want the situation where when we have localized conflict, we prescribe political solutions too. We don't want a situation like we've had in Boku, where each party that comes to power, they have their different set of solutions to the conflict. So we must not allow Benin to take that form, because I think that Benin has some structural problems and has to basically have to do with land ownership patterns, economic marginalization, and some identity-based grievances. So those are the structured things government should be interested in looking at, so that this thing can be nipped in the mud in the longer term.
All right, thank you very much. But before you go, though, do you believe the national security architecture is robust enough to prevent such escalations?
Yeah, so far, if you see what our security have done, they've been able to maintain law and order. And we have not had any form of accusations or counter-accusations like we get in other conflicts. And some people are trying so hard to politicize the conflict, and it's not about politics at all. You see, the president is DC. It's a briefo. So can you imagine a Gonja man who is president, if he doesn't like a briefo, you make a briefo his first line of defense. So let's get the politics out of it and see the conflict as it is. In the first place, the conflict didn't even start between a briefo and a Gonja. It started between two briefos. And an intervention was kick-started and certain things happened and it escalated to the level that it is. So we are happy peace is returning to the area, and I will appeal to all feuding factions to let cold heads prevail. At the end of the day, we are intermarried. It's just the same blood we are devolving, and I don't think it's the right way to go. And like the Yegbora has spoken, I think the way we revere our chiefs and those kind of traditional authority, I don't see any cause for alarm. And the people can return. Government just needs to do its bit by providing the resources for their settlement.
Thank you very much, Master Emmanuel Kutin, for speaking to us. And he had there Emmanuel Kuting. He is a security consultant. Now, Ghanaian economist Professor Stephen Adu says he remains skeptical about the government 24-hour initiative. Professor Adu says unless the government is deliberate about providing what is needed for business modules to survive, he is unsure of the viability of the initiative. His comment comes as Cabinet approves the 24-hour economy authority bill for submission to Parliament. Professor Stephen Adu was speaking at the Success Hub Executive Business and Development Summit held in Accra. There's more in the following report.
Let us issue the world's first resource-backed, quantum-secured central bank digital currency. Roll this out, the gold-backed digital city in 2026. By 2027, let's circulate algorithmic cocoa share nut manganese tokens. By 2028, anchor a pan-African endogenous resource-backed currency clearinghouse that will make the Bretton Woods twins obsolete. Let foreigners come in droves to study the...
And we do apologize for that sound. We'll bring it to you later. You're still here on Hot Edition of 3FM 92.7. Bismarck Awusa is here with the latest in business.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, commercial banks begin charging 5% fee on foreign currency withdrawals funded by transfers and checks as Bank of Ghana enforces new directive on forex transactions. Thanks for your company. Now.
Increment. Need power.
Thanks for accompanying now to the details. Commercial banks in Ghana have begun enforcing a 5% fee on foreign exchange withdrawals following new guidelines from the Bank of Ghana. The levy applies to foreign currency accounts funded through transfers or check deposits, while accounts credited with cash deposits remain exempt. The move being implemented under the central bank's revised charges and reporting requirements on foreign currency cash transactions is to tighten oversight of forex flows, discourage speculative withdrawals, and encourage cash-based deposits. With this development, importers, exporters, and individuals dependent on international transfers and remittances who frequently withdraw from foreign exchange accounts are going to be heavily impacted. We'll be following this development and bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, has hit out at the proposed utility tariff increases, warning that any sharp adjustments will worsen the already high cost of doing business in the country. Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the AGI, Chonam Akpelu, says the planned hikes are insensitive to the plight of industries struggling to stay afloat. This comes on the back of the IMF expressing support for the intended review, stressing that the adjustments, if approved, could help end inefficiencies in the energy sector, attract private investment, and address the growing debt burden.
The AGI is unhappy about the proposed increments in the tariffs and all utilities. Already, industry is burdened with several costs that we have to deal with. Utilities constitute major components of our production cost, okay? And we do need the utilities. We need power to produce. We need water to produce, so that an attempt to increase the utility price, it's almost like saying that you are going to directly increase the cost of production. And our view is that that is not helpful for industry at all. It's not welcome. Our wish is for government to consider that decision and ensure that the prices of utility are not only stabilized but are essentially reduced.
And that was Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelu. Moving on, Ghanaian economist Professor Stephen Ade says he remains skeptical about the government's 24-hour economy initiative. He says unless the government is deliberate towards providing what is needed for business models to survive, he is unsure of the viability of the initiative. His comment comes as Cabinet approves the 24-hour Economy Authority Bill for submission to Parliament. Professor Stephen Ade was speaking at the Success Hub Executive Business and Development Summit held in Accra. There is more in the following report.
The executive business meeting attracted seasoned economists, business owners, and academicians, and is aimed at positioning the youth on how to begin their own startups. The government's 24-hour economy flagship program is anchored on 8 pillars, including Aspire 24, which seeks to build human capital in development, investing in skills training, education, and entrepreneurship. And economist Professor Stephen Ade agrees that the 24-hour economy could be a game changer, but the necessary incentives needed for its success must apply.
Upscaling their businesses so that they can have 3 ships. But I believe that any businessman who has got the market and can make profit will go from 1 shift to a 2nd shift to a 3rd shift.
Vice Chancellor of the Accra Technical University, ATU, Professor Meve Akakpovi, who also involved in the drafting of policy, said creating more entrepreneurs in Ghana will reduce unemployment.
Productivity is expanded to cover the many remaining hours in the day. It has the potential to increase productivity and to also further giving rooms for more jobs. And I think that's the solution to reduce the unemployment as we move forward.
CEO of Success Hub, Kingsley Kweku Pinkra, said over 500 young entrepreneurs will be trained and given a boost to start their own businesses under the Bold Start initiatives.
We are not scaling. Hardly can you or do you need to extend your working hours. You'll be needing more working hours if we expand it. And we need to support entrepreneurs in Ghana for it to be possible.
And that was economist Professor Stephen Ade. Moving on, Ghana's Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, has called on civil servants to play a frontal role in delivering the government's 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program. He described the civil service as a critical player in the policy's success, urging personnel to adopt a more proactive and innovative approach to service delivery. The program, which aims to boost productivity, create jobs and reduce Ghana's reliance on imports, is central to the government's economic transformation agenda. Speaking at a workshop on the initiative, Julius Debra said public sector workers must begin aligning with operations with their policy's objectives to ensure its full implementation.
It is the civil service that ensures coherence, aligning ministry work plans, harmonizing regulation, streamlining reporting lines, and preventing duplications. The 24-hour agenda therefore requires civil servants who think beyond silos, who see the ministry's mandate not in isolation, but as part of a national ecosystem. 3, the civil service as the front line of service delivery. The 24-hour agenda is people-centered. It promises citizens expanded opportunities through jobs, business facilitation, or improved public services. To the ordinary Ghanaian, it is not the president or minister who embodies this promise. It is the civil servant they encounter at the port, in the hospital, in the registry, or at the border. This means that as we ask the private sector to commit, the civil service too must adapt. This places an obligation on the service to embrace new attitude, efficiency, responsiveness, accountability, and the willingness to adopt technology and flexible working arrangements.
And that was Chief of Staff Julius Debra ending the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. The bulletin continues.
Thank you very much, Bismarck Awusa, for bringing us the latest in sports. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition tonight. But before we go, the Volta region will be a hugely popular destination this season in the Ghana Premier League with not one but 2 clubs. There will be games there every weekend with Kpando, Heart of Lions, and Hoho United, all in contention with different ambitions but driven by the same passion. 3 Sports went there recently to gauge the mood ahead of the big kickoff to the season.